You ever notice something strange? Every time a black man becomes too powerful, too rich, too connected, too independent, something shifts, the headlines change, the tone changes, old stories return, new accusations appear, and suddenly the man who built an empire becomes the villain of the week. It happens fast, too fast. One moment he is celebrated, the next moment he is investigated. Now Jay-Z said he is not friends with Diddy. Most people heard that and moved on, but Dr. Umar said something deeper. He said maybe that statement was not about friendship, maybe it was about survival. Because when pressure hits one powerful man, the other man cannot stand too close. If one is under fire, distance becomes protection. Power does not move emotionally, power moves strategically.
Wow. Now, let's look at that both ways.
Okay.
When Sean Carter said that him and Sean Combs were never friends, that could be looked at a couple different ways.
Okay.
On one way, it could be a mafia thing where we know we buttons, but I can't afford to catch none of your heat. So on camera, I'm gonna tell them I don't mess with you, but off camera we still brothers. Because I can't afford to go down, because if I go down, Puff, who gonna finance you getting out? God forbid, if Puff go broke, he gonna need Jay to send him a life preserver, you feel me?
Right.
So Jay can't afford to go down, because if they both go down, who can they go to get some money from? They two are the biggest out. Denzel ain't cut no check, he too clean, he ain't gonna touch it. You see what I'm saying? So my thing is, it could be an undercover agreement. We're gonna act like we enemies in public, but I got your back in private. So I don't wanna jump to conclusions. Now, if what he said is what it is, that's bad.
You heard what he said. Public distance, private loyalty, act like enemies in public, but protect each other in private. Now that does not mean it is true, but it shows how survival works at the highest level. Because if both men fall at the same time, who rescues who? Now step back and look at timing. Around the same period that Diddy faced federal pressure, New York opened a 2-year civil window, a special window, a time period allowing very old accusations to be brought into civil court. No normal deadline, just money cases. And Dr. Umar asked a bold question. Why open that window at that moment? Why allow decades-old claims to return right when certain names are under pressure? He called it suspicious time.
If R. Kelly's in jail, why did New York City's city council decide to create this gender-based violence protection initiative, which already existed, but they added a 2-year window out of the blue? Out of the blue. The law been around since 2000. It's a 24-year-old law. 2 years ago, it's been around 22 years. And y'all say if there's any woman in New York City who's ever been sexually harassed, abused by any man at any time in your life, you have from March 1st of 2023 to March 1st of 2025 to bring a civil suit. No statute of limitations. If Bill Cosby is already locked up, if R. Kelly is already locked up, if Harvey Weinstein is already locked up, why did they come up with that law? In my opinion, they came up with that law to take down Sean Carter and Sean Combs. That was the Puffy Jay-Z bill. It wasn't necessary. Why? Weinstein's in jail, R. Kelly's in jail, Bill Cosby's in jail. Why do y'all need to come up with a 2-year window that let women go all the way back in time and accuse any man they know? And mind you, you can't bring a criminal suit. It's only for money.
Right.
Come on.
Money.
That tells me you only made this rule to go after rich people. Black celebrities, bro. That was the Carter Combs law. That's what I call it.
When Jay-Z says he's not P. Diddy's friend.
Wow.
Now understand something clearly. This does not prove guilt. This does not prove innocence. Courts decide that. But timing always matters in power because laws are tools, media is a tool, public opinion is a tool, and tools can protect justice or they can create leverage. Now let's go deeper. Diddy faces RICO charges, federal accusations, stories about parties, stories about drugs, stories about weapons, and people are asking, are other celebrities worried? Are other moguls nervous? Here is where Dr. Umar shifts the conversation.
Yeah, the Fed said that they found photos and videos of Diddy freakos. You think celebrities is worried about being caught on tape?
Oh, they definitely. I don't think they're worried about going down as much because I don't know if you can be held accountable for being a freak among freaks. Now, can they say you had knowledge of narcotics distribution? Because the one thing that they have in the RICO charge, okay, is that he engaged in possession of narcotics with intent to distribute. So they could potentially come back and say, all you celebrities who were at the freak-offs, y'all had knowledge that illegal drugs were being distributed and used at these parties. But to that, Art, I'm going to say, are you serious? Aren't there drugs being distributed at every Hollywood party, every music industry party? I mean, are you really going to charge all these black celebrities who were at these freak-offs with knowledge of possession of controlled substance with intent to distribute when that is everyday culture in Hollywood? See, then, in my opinion, it starts to really look like what it is, racial targeting and racial profiling. That would be a bit too much. Now, they say Puffy had a gun with the serial number scratched off. I don't know why he would do that. Because when they said they found 2 or 3 AR-15s or whatever, he has a right to have weapons. He got a right to have weapons in his house. So to me, them finding guns means nothing. The man is a mogul and he's an American citizen. So he has a right to have guns. But that one with the serial number scratched off, Art, can that be linked to any crimes that have ever been committed? And if it can be linked to any crimes that have ever been committed, now Puffy is in hot water. But the one thing he can't do, Art, the one thing Puff can't do, because as people send me messages and screenshots from social media.
That is the uncomfortable question. If illegal culture exists in many elite rooms, why does one man become the headline? Again, this is a question about consistency. If the rules apply, they should apply evenly. But when one powerful figure becomes the example, the message spreads far beyond that one case. Then Dr. Umar brings up something even darker: exposure. He warns that exposing powerful names while inside a controlled system can be dangerous. He compares it to Epstein. He says power protects itself. Listen carefully.
That's the worst thing Sean Combs can do. And I'm sure Sean Combs knows he can't do it, because that's exactly what Jeffrey Epstein was going to do. Jeffrey Epstein went on record and said, I'm not going down alone. So when you say that, that automatically means that you're about to take somebody down with you. Donald Trump was on that plane allegedly. Bill and Hillary Clinton was on that plane allegedly. A whole bunch of people was on those Jerry Epstein planes. So they killed Jerry Epstein. He was murdered, and they called it a suicide. And if they can do that to someone as powerful as a Jerry Epstein, imagine what they can do to a Sean Puffy Combs. So I think Puff knows he cannot bring nobody with him. He cannot expose anybody at all. The best thing he can do is wait until he gets out. If he ever gets out, do a tell-all movie and a tell-all book, and that'll probably make him a billionaire again. That's the only way I see Puff getting out of this, if in fact he is convicted. If Puff called me right now and said, Dr. Umar, I'm thinking about exposing these white folks, the only reason why I'm in here is because I sued Diego. I embarrassed them. I humbled them. They were forced to settle with me out of court. And they are the ones who called in a favor to the U.S. government, or had King Charles III to call in a favor on their behalf to the U.S. government. And that's why I'm here. And I would say, Puff, good brother, if you did the crime, you got to do the time. If in fact you're guilty of trafficking women against their will, if you are in fact guilty of forcing women or men into these freak-offs against their will, brother, that is a crime in my book, and you need to do the time. But if you're guilty of those things, and this is a complete setup.
Now zoom out. What is the bigger theme? Control, public control, psychological control. Dr. Umar says this is not new. He goes back over 100 years. He talks about Jack Johnson, the first black heavyweight champion, bold, public, unapologetic, and what happened when he became too visible.
So what did the white power structure do to try to destroy Jack Johnson? They passed a law claiming that it was illegal to transport women across state lines for the purposes of having sex. Art, this whole interstate prostitution thing, it started trying to destroy the first black heavyweight champion. I want to make sure your viewers understand this. Put this in context. whether it's Sean Combs, whether it's Bill Cosby, whether it's R. Kelly, whether it's Michael Jackson, this whole thing of destroying successful black male celebrities started with heavyweight champion Jack Johnson. And they accused him of interstate prostitution when all he was doing was going around with his white girlfriends from boxing match to boxing match, vacation to vacation, having sex, and they charged him with interstate prosecution, even though they didn't have the evidence. I just want our people to look at this art from a racial perspective, a legal perspective, and a historical perspective. This whole interstate trafficking of women was used against black men who were not engaging in prostitution. They were engaging in consensual sexual relations with white women that the white man did not like. And they were being convicted without sufficient evidence, and they're trying to do the same thing with Sean Combs right now.
Fast forward to today, we do not hang men from trees anymore. We hang them on timelines. We do not gather crowds in fields. We gather in comment sections. We do not drag bodies through streets. We drag reputations across headlines. Dr. Umar uses a strong phrase, public lynching, not literal, symbolic, because when a leader falls publicly, it is not only punishment, it is instruction.
In a way that make people fearful to like step up.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. It's one of the reasons why they constantly broadcast the execution, or at least the death. If you notice, Abraham Lincoln is one of the most famous presidents in American history. A racist, but one of the most famous presidents in American history. You can hardly find a death photo of him. John F. Kennedy, very famous also. You can find death photos of Kennedy, but not as often as you will find death photos of King and Malcolm. Wow. In other words, when they assassinate our leaders, they put those bodies on display as a conditioning for other Africans to never attempt or even dream of following in their footsteps. Those murders, going back to the Willie Lynch letter, they don't murder African leaders just to eliminate that particular threat at that particular time. They murder African leaders as a lesson to all of those would-be leaders who will be coming in their path. If we go back to the Willie Lynch letter, whether the letter is authentic or not is irrelevant. The psychological science of it is true and exact. In that Willie Lynch letter, it talks about making an example of the biggest and the boldest in front of the women, children, and the other men. That's what Malcolm's assassination was about. That's what King's assassination was about. You know, that's what Dedan Kamafi's assassination was about. Amilcar Cabral, Thomas Sankara, Maurice Bishop. Their assassinations were examples to would-be leaders because, again, with most black children being raised by their mothers across the diaspora, not just America, across the diaspora, so many of our children are raised by the mother. What does Willie Lynch say? If you abuse that man in public, the mother will raise her son to be a coward.
That is the psychological argument. Make one example, control the rest. Dr. Umar says Diddy's situation is not just about Diddy, it is about Jay-Z, about Kanye, about every black mogul watching quietly. He says the message is simple, stay in line, do not challenge too much, do not build too independently.
The mother will raise her son to be a coward for fear that the same thing that happened to the father will happen to the son. So that's why you don't see unapologetic, politically and economically unapologetic black men as much as you used to. Definitely not in the United States, because they will publicly lynch and symbolically castrate you, Sean Puffy Combs, who may have been guilty of some crimes, but did nothing more than any other white mogul has done in that same space. But we're going to publicly castrate and lynch you since you want to start this black political party. And since you want to sue Diageo, this powerful white liquor company,
We need Jay-Z to know we're not going to tolerate this. We need Tyler Perry and Oprah Winfrey. We need Rihanna. We need Tiger Woods, not to say that he would, but we need Tiger Woods and Serena and Kanye to know we won't tolerate this kind of stuff.
Now here is where we land. This is not about defending anyone. If crimes happen, the courts will decide, but the deeper conversation is about pattern, timing, media display, public humiliation, psychological impact. When powerful black men rise and then fall publicly, the effect goes far beyond one case. It shapes culture, it shapes fear, it shapes ambition. So the real question is not just about guilt, the real question is this: is there a pattern when power is challenged, or is everything random? Once you see the pattern, you move differently, you think differently, you build differently. And maybe that awareness is the real reason this conversation matters.